Hello. We are excited about this evening. Guys, come on up in here. We're going to have a good time. We don't have a lot of time, but we have a little time to speak with Drew Alexander. You know, this weekend he's celebrating his birthday out in the Bay. So that should be exciting. But let's get it. Come on up in here, y'all. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. All right, so I have gotten an indication that we are live, Drew. So we're going to go ahead and start talking. Let me bring in the phenom himself, Mr. Drew Alexander.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
I love it. I love it. Now, I know this is a surprise to people. Latika's live. What's going on? What's happening? Yes, I'm live.
Right.
So make you guys share the live. Class is only about 30 minutes today. So you need to be able to get this information and move on. That's what you need to do because he's busy. He has another private right after this. Who do you know to go do a TV interview, get on a plane and go drive to a private? That's all I know. I mean, his schedule's so tight. So anyway.
We got stuff to do.
Listen, I ain't mad at you. Happy birthday again.
Thank you kindly.
No problem. I want to say hello to all my tea sippers. Tonight, we're going to do a little bit. We wanted to create a series. I think that's how we talked about it, Drew. Like it's going to be some more of these. This is like the first part, little snippet of an upcoming series that we'll start doing. And maybe he can bring in students. I mean, I don't know, on some online class. I don't know. You know how I be thinking all the way over.
We're going to put it to work. Whatever it is, we're going to figure it out.
You feel what I'm saying? Because I see it. I can see it. I can visualize it. You feel me? So anyway, tonight we're going to do just a little bit of class. Now, speaking of class, when I actually called Mr. Alexander, he was actually in the middle of a private. And some of the information in the middle. And some of the information he shared with a young lady, I was listening just a little bit like, oh, I didn't know that. For one thing was that 4 and then slide that 5. I ain't never heard that, Drew. I was like, dude, what to your
5? 4 slide to 5. You know, the 5 is that movement. You know, that's a movement number. You know, a lot of people don't know when we talk about counts and you talk about the 8 count and everything like that. You know, I ask people a lot of times, I said, I ask people, what do you think the most 2 important numbers are in the dance? And, you get people to say, 1 and 4, 3 and 6, 7, 8. Right. And what people, they bypass the other 2 numbers that's left, and that's 2 and 5. And I've been teaching this quite often lately, that the 2 and 5 really gives you the motion. It really teaches you how to dance under the beat per se, or under the rhythm, teach you how to get more into the rhythm of the dance. A lot of times when you hear certain people snap, they might snap off beat, and that's actually the rhythm that they snapping on, the numbers. If you were to categorize this, the numbers that they actually dancing on, the 2 to 5 and the AM, which is between 7 and 8. And I can talk all day about that, but really the biggest thing is a lot of people put so much attention or put so much focus on 1 and 4, 3 and 6, for the resting aspect, or 1 and 4 has always got to go somewhere. Yeah. But the people that you watch that are really good in the dance, the one thing that they all have in common is patience. And so if 1 and 4 is so important to you, then you're always using it to go somewhere. Sometimes you don't need to go nowhere right then. Sometimes you need to wait and let 2 and 5 be the guidance that move you into the rest of it. So when you watch certain people like Cheryl Sugarfoot, she knows how to dance on that 2 and 5, which allows her to dance under the rhythm. I like to, how I like to think about it is I like to swim in the music versus just being on top. I want to swim in the music. So a lot of times with the 8 count format, is really more of a flat rhythm kind of cadence. The way that, for one, it's always been taught. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're teaching people how to dance downward on a flat rhythm, which is why you have a lot of people who, majority of people, I would say nowadays, so you used to hear old schoolers talk about the new school dances and why everybody looked the same. Yes. It's because of how the dance was kind of being taught to them to do that. Whereas when I learned how to do dance, and people that learned 6 count originally, there was more of a rhythm aspect to it. So because of that rhythm aspect, now like there's a whole different variation to the dance that most people won't even get to know because of how they were taught how to do the dance initially with the 8 count. So it's just a kind of a lot that goes into it. But that 2-5 and then that and, which is between the 7 and 8, it allows for you to have room and space to create the different footwork or style and finesse that you want to put into your dance.
So if you get a student that was taught on the 8 count and they come on the rhythm, the downbeat, like you explained, and they say, Drew, I just want to learn some footwork.
So the first thing that I teach them, because even though you might learn the 8 count, it doesn't mean that you're like doomed. You know, obviously, you know, I taught many people on 8 count and they're very, very, very good dancers. So the concept of footwork, though, you have to first understand, like when I teach people footwork, I let them know first thing is footwork is not something that should interrupt the flow of your basic anyway. So if you have, for instance, your basic dance, whatever your basic is, I shouldn't have to take away numbers or add more for me to technically do footwork. It should be something that's infused in the basic dance. With that being the case, it should be a matter of understanding how to manipulate your numbers or manipulate the way your pattern is. Let's take numbers out of it for a second and let's talk about patterns.
Okay.
The dance is done in patterns. And how you choose to maneuver that pattern is footwork. It's called manipulation. Manipulating your feet creates movement, creates extra movement with your feet that allows you to get down. And as they say, go to work, creating feet or foot work.
Footwork.
So it's just a manipulation of patterns that teach you how to create footwork.
And it in my mind, I'm following you. But like if somebody was asking, if I was at church and I got so into what the pastor was saying, and somebody next to me is on something else and they asked me a question, I couldn't answer them. That's what I feel like right now. Like I've been so into this word, I can't tell you what he just said. I can't even tell you, I can't even repeat it. Okay, so how do you teach manipulation of the dance then? Like, you know, a lay person that was taught just like that, no dance background, they're doing very well, doing very good to even get it this way. Now you're telling me I'm supposed to put footwork in the right places. I'm just hypothetically speaking. How do you teach someone that? How was that taught?
So the one thing that I always do is I introduce them to the concept that what real footwork should be. And I show them, I show them a little bit. I might show them videos of of certain things and what they might see when they watch certain people dance anyway. So I let them see, and then I explain to them the manipulation concept of, if we're talking about numbers, manipulating that 8 count. You can still choose to count your 8. Now let's actually talk about how you can use your 8 in different ways. So it's funny that this is behind me, right? If you can actually see this.
Let's see.
So these numbers, right?
See a little bit. Yes. Yes, I see it now.
So you got, you know, where is it? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7, 8, right?
Okay.
And so what I like to think about, or how I explain it, is like your dance is in like a number line. And so the beat falls on 1, 4, and 7 when you talk about an 8 count. I can put this down. But the beat talk, you know, is 1, 4, and 7, right? So they talk about 8 count, right? And so what we do now is we manipulate where we want to put our beats. So just like you would with a number line in school, you talk about them integers. Now we talk about that we use that now in a dance concept. So we take our 8 and I show you where the beat lines up with that particular number. Then I say, okay, now let's shift it. So now I'm gonna put 2 on the beat. You know, I'm gonna put another number on the beat. I'm gonna put, you know, I'm gonna make you place your 4 a little bit sooner. So this is where we start to incorporate like ands into your dance, which is just basically either can be extra accents or placing your step ahead of what you normally would have, and then using it to hold it longer, which now gives you more of a manipulation of timing and rhythm in your dance. So like when you were listening to me count the young ladies dance I was just working with, I was using what I call a quick 1-2 method, which is basically 7-8-1-2. So combining the numbers, right? So I'm gonna get real technical for a second, right?
Ooh.
So let's say you got your 8 count, right? So it's 1, 2, 3 pause, 4, 5, 6 pause, 7, 8 pause, right?
Okay.
Basically, the manipulation is basically moving those pauses and putting them in different places. So if I had a quick 1-2, I would take the pause that's between 7 and 8, shift it between 2 and 3. So now 7-8-1-2 is continuous. 7-8-1-2. Now I put the pause there after 2, then 3 sits alone, then there's a pause again, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now your timing goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you do that with other numbers and put some ahead of the beat, put some behind the beat, all the different type of stuff like that. So this is the how I teach people how to learn eventually how to, for one, manipulate their basics to where they can do that uninterrupted in their dance. Where they, when I always tell ladies, I say your footwork should not interrupt a lead. It should not intercept a lead that should be happening, which means your footwork should still be able to be done and still be able to follow the turn I'm about to give.
Mm.
Right? Or I
Yeah.
should be able to still dance you and your feet make sense to where your dance is.
Ooh.
Versus you doing something crazy that doesn't fit the motion of what we got going on here.
Drew, when
Tika.
you talk it, when you talk of the way you speak of this dance, I'm speechless. And the reason why I'm speechless, you have literally dissected this dance. You've put it in Spanish, all types of versions, Spanish, English. I mean, you got charts. Did y'all see the chart? Yeah, like I see the chart. I saw a chart. He got charts. He probably got handouts. I think they got a whole.
This funny. This actually is not even mine. This is somebody else's. This is somebody else's, and it just was sitting there.
I'm just saying, you have broken this dance down to the smallest little nuance, and the way you can say it, and it somewhat makes sense. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of it was losing me, but I think I was lost because I've thought of the many times that I've danced with you, and I have never, ever, ever drug my 5. So that means that when I'm dancing with you, you're looking at me going, "Oh, honey, if this girl don't sit her butt down, child, she don't even know how to drag her 5."
Well, you know what it is, Tika, is that everybody requires a little something different to make them spark that light bulb spark, and what just so happened with her, as I was working with her today, she didn't want to let her 5 leave her 4. Like it was like so close. And I'm like, your 5 needs room to breathe. Your 4 needs room to breathe. Let 5 go somewhere and be on his own, learn how to be independent on his own instead of always needing 4 to be right there with it. When I teach, a lot of times I use a lot of life concepts,
Yeah.
relationship concepts,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Dancing is life. And what people don't realize is, dancing is just like a relationship and it doesn't matter what the relationship is, whether it be a significant other, whether it just be a good friend, whether it's your mom and your dad, whoever. Dancing and how we embrace one another when we come around each other, the energy that we give one another, and just in life, period. Dancing is on that same comparison. So when I teach, a lot of times I use all these different concepts. So when I was teaching the young lady today, she was just sitting there, she's just looking at me like, yeah, that sounds like some life lessons. But I do that because for one, we have a lot more older people that do this dance. When I say older, I mean more seasoned people that obviously have experienced life.
Yeah.
And so if I can use certain things that they have already experienced in life that makes sense to them on the dance floor, then it'll click for them a lot faster, which tends to happen.
I love
So that's kind of how that works. But yeah, as far as that 5 though, sometimes you got to slide that bad boy out. Because remember, I talked about that 2 and 5. They're like actually the most 2 important steps in your dance.
I am sure that I know I ain't doing that, Drew, but we'll talk about that offline. I ain't did none of the numbers. I don't think I've done any of those numbers.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Like if
Okay.
you ever hear me snapping, if you ever heard Rick snapping,
Yes, and it's always offbeat to me. I'm like, what's
always
wrong?
off beat. It's
Yeah.
always off beat. And so what he's doing is he's snapping on his delay or in rhythm because beats are repetitive. What you do before is also what you do after. It's happening technically at the same time. What's before is after.
That's true.
So when you snapping off beat, if this is your beat and you snapping here, that's also coming before the next one. So rhythm wise, it creates you learning how to dance behind it. It's funny because me and Tabitha, we were practicing for the Heat contest this past weekend, right? And we was in the room just kind of like playing around. Mind you, we really only got a chance to practice like once,
Oh
like
wow.
literally.
You're good.
And we were that's what we do, right? Practice once and win practice, right?
That's how it is.
And we're in the room, and so we record our session, whatever. And all we hear is each other snapping. She snap on beat, I snap off. And that's literally when we start to realize that's how we're communicating.
Wow.
That's how we
Wow.
communicate.
Yeah.
You know how like certain animals use certain sounds to
Mm-hmm.
communicate, or bats
Mm-hmm.
use vibrations and all, all these different
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
things.
Yes.
Like we're using these snaps to communicate. It's like, hey, I'm right here. Okay, I'm right there with
Yeah.
you. I'm
Right,
right
right,
here.
right.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
See, people don't understand it or can't get to that point because that 8 count sometimes doesn't put them in that type of understanding. 8 count is meant to be structured. Structure is very good. There's nothing wrong with structure. Being technical, there's nothing wrong with that. However, sometimes being too mechanical can leave you in a certain space that doesn't allow for you to be to be more rhythmic and allow for you to be more of a feel. A lot of times feel come based off of the moment. And sometimes the moment don't require mechanics. Sometimes it requires the feel.
Just feel.
So
Right.
some people when people learn on 8 count, some learn how to get into it, some don't. Like I was just having a conversation with the young lady talking about skill over talent. Like hard work could be talent any day. So even though you got people like myself who are very natural in learning to dance, yeah, it might be
Yeah.
natural. But somebody that puts in just as much hard work as I did can be just as good, if not better than me. And they can understand even if they come from a whole different perspective. All they have to do is just learn it. And if they learn and were taught correctly what fits them and what they need for their dance, then they'll shoot high into the mountains when it comes to learning and really being great at it. So teaching is about learning how to hit someone's individual needs,
And
not general aspect of teaching the same thing to everybody.
right. And I'm just wondering, how do you get around that when you have so many instructors that are fairly new in the dance themselves? They were also taught the regular 8 count. So now when you get to someone like yourself, that have learned and dissected the dance even more, how do you, how do you, what do you do? How do you transition from that? That is very difficult to do if that's all you know in your area, but you realize there's something different. There's something different about when y'all dance versus us
And
down here.
and that's the one thing that I say that I always do is I compare. I compare. I let them know what the difference is. Like my job is to create a bridge to
Mhm.
connect you from where you are to where you want to be.
Okay.
Better yet, to connect you from where you are to where you see other great dancers are, because that's
Mm,
where you want to be.
right.
So my job is to create the bridge. If you've been taught one way, my job is not to tear what you're doing down, is to enhance what you're doing. I can always add to you.
Hmm.
I don't want to take nothing away because you got this far with it. So let
Right.
me enhance it. But the only time that it becomes very difficult for someone to change is if they are not willing to make changes.
Mm,
And if
mm.
they can't acknowledge their own flaws in order to make the adjustment.
That's the problem right there. I don't want to call it a problem, but that's the some people think they're better
The
than what they really are.
the issue is you.
Mm. Well, arrogance is a big part of this. So if you have people that's in that space where they're teaching and really, I don't want to say technically sound, but understand the dance. I don't know anybody that's broken it down like you, but at least have some type of idea of really what the dance is. What do? You have no choice but to, I don't know.
What do I want to say to that? You talked about ego, or you talk about what was the word that you used? Was it ego? You
I
used
think so.
another word.
Egos, yes.
Okay, so ego. So one thing, and you remember the last conversation that we had, I talked about my life coach, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things that my life coach is very adamant about every time we speak is that you need to tell your ego to shut the F up.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Because your ego actually keeps you from really gaining the knowledge that's necessary because it's fighting you. It's fighting. I had a conversation actually with my life coach wife, and I was actually speaking to both of them. The conversation was your soul and your ego. Your soul wants to learn. Your soul wants to absorb. Your soul wants the
Okay.
information. Your ego is what keeps you from getting there.
Wow.
And the key is you have to learn how to tell your ego to shut up so your soul can absorb whatever it needs to. And a lot of time our ego is so prideful, it's so like big and loud that it overpowers the soul. And so a lot of times people cannot get the information because it can't get through because ego saying, no, we could do this, we got this, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to make no adjustment. I learned it this way. This is the way I learned it, and this is the way I'm gonna keep it, and blah, blah, blah. I don't accept change, this, and that. So you gotta tell your ego to shut the fuck up.
Right. And then you have to, first of all, like you said, they got to get it through their thick skulls. That is an issue. First of all, I think that the ego is so big you can't even get to the skull to tap on it or nothing. I mean, you can't even get that close because the ego is so big. Like everything.
Absolutely.
So how do you? My thought is always this: if we can't get past that, just egos, how are we going to grow this dance? And then if we can't get past that and can't grow it and can't make sure it stays alive, you can't have both. Like you either got to be willing and open to make sure we can grow the dance, or you're going to be stuck in your ways and then it's going to stifle the dance. A lot of people think it won't go away, but it will. It can. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. It's a work in progress every day, every single day. The key is to touch one person. Eventually, we'll touch another person. And the more people that you continue to get the message through about just allowing themselves to be open. One of the things that we used to say in class every time we had new people that came from other classes or from just learned a different kind of way is that the only thing we ask is that you be open to the information that you receive today. Don't fight it, because what was the point of you coming to class? If you came to my class to learn the same thing you learned in somebody else's class, then why aren't you there?
Oh, that's good. So you're seeking something.
You're seeking something. But what gets me is that people seek, but they don't seek to retain. They seek to fight. They seek to resist. You seek, you seek, like people seek to resist the information that they really want to get better, but don't want to allow their ego to use it.
That's I hate to be this way, and I don't want to seem like I'm bashing men, but that's the men.
It's women too.
Men. Like, I'm like, dude, you can't. What is you doing? You know, I'm not. First of all, you trying to do all this stuff. You know, I'm not dragging my 5 like Drew said to do. First of all, and then you over here trying to give me all these moves. You about to kill me, about to hit me in my nose with them elbows. What am I supposed to do? Now, I want to address this. what is the appropriate way? Now I know back, the women of the dance or whoever would tell you, baby, you ain't got this dance. Go have a seat. They would tell you, you need to work on this some more. You ain't got it yet, but you cute, but you need to move on out the way, right? How do we do that now? How can we do that now? Like if we're dancing with someone and everybody talks about, like, in other words, you sitting at the table with your girls and here come that one guy that don't nobody really like to dance with, but they ain't trying to be mean. Like, anybody trying to be mean, he's just a horrible dance, right? So how long do you keep that going before you say, you know what? I really like you as a person, but I really would like for you to go to Drew's class. You need to go back to class. I mean, how do you say that without what?
Well, you know,
so serious.
Well, this is the thing. First off, to go back to what you were saying earlier about how, women were able to tell guys like, they'll even be like, nope, I'll leave you on the flow and deuces, come back when you know how to dance. People learning back then had tougher skin than they do now. So that concept is hard to do if somebody doesn't have a certain hunger for it. That's like, I don't care, I want it, right? And we've had this story before. It's only been one person that ever did that to me, and you know who that is.
I don't want to say the name.
Sugarfoot.
Cheryl. I was gonna say
Sugarfoot did that to me one time, but I used it as a push. This is okay. You're gonna want to dance with me next time.
So you wasn't.
However,
hurt.
No, it was like, I'm pumped now. I gotta learn this other way to dance with her because I liked her dance. I want to be able to dance with her. But most guys, for one, especially that are much more seasoned gentlemen, they're kind of more set in their ways, right? Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing that I would say is, I always tell my ladies when I was in class, I was like, let's be honest. You know what to say when you want something. You know just what to say and how to say it to get the rise out of a guy like you want to. Mm-hmm. I said sometimes y'all are so taken aback by the dance that they have or by the way they feel on the dance floor that doesn't really fit you, that you allow your ego to speak for you. Instead, you need to let your soul speak for you. Because when you talking to your man, you know how to let your soul speak for you. When you speaking to a good friend of yours, you know how to let your soul speak for you at that time and at that moment to get what you're trying to get. So if you really want this particular person to really learn to dance correctly, talk to them the right way. See, us guys, we're very, very simple creatures. We really are.
Now that is true. But go ahead.
But it's when your ego is intact, our ego has to be bigger.
I'm just wondering how do you, and I get it, women, we have our way.
To answer your question, is that you have to come at it with a softness that a lot of times you're so disturbed by the dance that you don't allow yourself to be soft in that moment of conversation. But it's really about just being like, hey, who do you go to learn? Or if I see what you're trying to do with your dance. I think that you're starting to really get better. Sometimes you gotta do the sandwich effect. Talk positive, give them the constructive criticism, and then back it back up with something positive. Or as in sales, we say build, break, build. Oh my God, I really appreciate the dance. Thank you so very much. I think that you'll really be even better if you started doing this. You know what? Drew does this little thing in his class where he focus on this, or such and such focus on this. I think that'll be really good for your style. You should probably check that out because I think that'll really elevate your dance. I would love to see what your dance look like after you dance with him or after you learn from him.
Wow. Did y'all hear that, ladies? I mean, I can't ever say I thought that. I can really straight up tell you, I ain't never stopped that when I finished. I'm just telling you. At all.
It's all about the approach. You know, don't let your ego speak for you. Let your soul speak for you. You gotta also think about it. And I hate to say this, but sometimes you gotta think about it like you're talking to a child. Sometimes you have to learn how to. You have to be very loving to that child to get them to be like, look, I need to let's sit down. Let me talk to you about something. Look, I realize what you're trying to do, blah, 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 blah. You didn't handle it the right way. But look, let's do this next time. So make sure that we're on the right path as we move forward. It's the same concept. So when you're talking to these guys and you really want them to get better, because when it's all said and done, we need them.
Right. And you don't want to say anything to discourage them from coming.
Exactly. So how like the best way to do that is for one to say it in a very nice, smooth, sexy tone, like y'all know how to talk, and really just say, hey, look, I really think your dance would be like, oh my God, amazing if you work with Drew a little bit. It's some things that I know that he works with his guys that make them so on point. I would love to see what your dance would look like after you done work with him. Because I really think you'll be off the chain. You got so much potential. Sometimes you got to stroke that ego a little bit. Sometimes you got to have to stroke his ego a little bit. It's okay.
I'm just telling y'all, sometimes us ladies, we be upset. We like, okay, first of all, you've been standing here on my table. You see, I ain't been giving you no eye contact for a reason. Now I gave you a little eye contact. Now you come over here. You know what I'm saying? Time my song. You, what's your name? What is we finna do? That song halfway over, first of all, so I already know the chances are this is not gonna be a good dance because you don't even know protocol and etiquette.
Well, if the song is halfway over, then you'll have half the time that you'll be spending with it.
Okay, all right. Now I know you with this life coach and everything, but look at him. I need to look at this with the glass half empty. If you
choices is number one. What you choose to do. If you choose to be happy, then you will be happy. If you choose to look at it with the glass half full instead of half empty, then that choice will manifest what it actually will be.
Listen here. But I do get what you're saying, though. We could try to be a little bit more positive. I get it because we do need men. Speaking of men, I've been asking a lot of folks this here lately. What are you doing out your way to get more men in this dance?
Showing them what their dance can be if they really if they really got into it. So the one thing is I encourage as best as possible for a woman to always bring a guy. Bring somebody. It don't matter who it is, just bring somebody. Mm-hmm. Let them see it. If they and I tell them, I said, use me. If they see me dance, then they're gonna like it.
They're gonna like it.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna like it. Mm-hmm. Let them see me. I'm a young guy at that, so we're trying to get more young guys into it. The one thing that I will say, especially if you're trying to get more young guys into it, is that you need to have some young women. And what instructors in some cases I feel is necessary, you have to invest into something in order for you to really like pull out what you want to. So sometimes you might have to teach somebody for free. Sometimes you might have to teach somebody for free, or you might have to give them a very discounted price if it's something private wise or something like that. And I get it, for some people, it's a business, like it's a business for me. It's not a hustle. If it wasn't for my livelihood, if I could do it for free, I would. Like, I love to dance that much. So I don't have a problem with feeding anybody knowledge. Mm-hmm. But what really brings guys into it is that they need to see that the information that they're getting is something that is very useful. So the guys that do come into it, stick into it. And you got to give them information to keep them wanting more. And you need to have more to give. So what I say is to my instructors out there, you need to always make sure that your game is tight so that you can always continue to feed the people coming to you. Mm-hmm. If it's 2 months down the road and they're still in the same space they was 2 months ago, that's a problem. Because the dance is not complex. We make it complex.
Yes. Yes.
We make it complex. Dance is not hard at all. But it's the granted there's a lot of parts to it,
Mm-hmm.
but learning the dance itself is not difficult. But if you can give guys what ran a lot of guys away, and I'll be honest, and we had this conversation a while ago, what
Mm-hmm.
runs a lot of guys away is for when we get the women that are very hard and like say whatever, so they let their ego speak for them. So guys run away for that. They just get discouraged. Two, we teach guys to dance one way, and then we tell them you're not dancing, and they're like, "Well, this is what I was taught." So
Mm-hmm.
now they're feeling like, "Well, I didn't spend all this money trying to learn to dance.
Mm-hmm.
What's up?"
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn how to spend time with these guys. See
Mm-hmm.
what really helps people really get to dance, or really help people get to dance. And just like in anything, is you have to spend time with people for them to be invested in something. Just like
Mm.
in sales, I got to spend a little time with this person in order for them to be fully invested in what I'm trying to sell to them.
Right.
They have to like me, and they have to
Mm.
like the people in the sense that's going to be around them while
Right.
they're learning, for them to be like, you know what, I feel like this family. So my
Right.
class has always been about a family atmosphere.
Stay right there for a second. How do you keep that atmosphere in your organization? A lot of organizations have a lot of infighting or in issues that are not addressed, I guess. And they just end up imploding, or people falling
Mhm.
out. A lot of people stop dancing. I mean, I've heard of several people that just stop stepping, period. They one situation,
Mhm.
like a church, it's like
Yeah.
that. You get mad at church, you leave the church. Same thing. People get mad if somebody is stepping or whatever, and they leave stepping. So a lot of that is there. What do you do to make sure that doesn't happen? And if it happens, what do you do to address it?
So the thing about it is that the lines of communication is always open. Like we should be able to talk to each other, because when it's all said and done, we're working with one another.
Mhm.
We're working with one another. We're dealing with one another. We see, if we're in class, we see each other often. So we're around each other. We're pretty much a family concept at this point. When we start spending time with people and it becomes habit,
Mhm.
like whether y'all like to call it that, y'all kind of a family right now. And
Right.
so, just like anything, a family fight, everybody, sometimes gonna have a disagreement here and there. But the biggest thing is that they have to understand is that we have a bigger plan, a bigger thing, what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is bring up the community, and we're trying to all do that together, which means we have to work together to do that anyway. So lines of communication always has to be open. If there's a problem, did you feel like I over talked you in a certain situation? Come on, let's talk to the side. Let's get that together now, because what I want to understand, because sometimes people do things and there was no intention, they just did it. There was no malice, they
Yeah.
just did it.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
lot of times when people tend to keep things to themselves and don't um, talk about it, or don't like, hey, it was a situation that's kind of bothering me. I want to get your thoughts on it, that you did. Let's talk about it, because what you understand is half the time it was a misunderstanding. And
Right.
that's the problem, is that misunderstandings are one of the number one causes
Yes.
of how people, or how things implode, as you say, or
Yeah.
how people disband, is because you just didn't communicate.
Yes. Yes.
So communication is key, period. And just understanding people. People
Mm.
cannot disappoint you if you expect disappointment.
Ooh.
And not saying that you
That's
should
good.
work with certain people that's gonna constantly disappoint you. But you
Mhm.
should know the type of environment or the type of people that's around you, because what you should always do is learn the people that are in your circle. Well, for one, they shouldn't be in your circle until you've learned them enough anyway, right? So when it's all said and done, you should understand those people that's in this position with you. I
Mhm.
know that you like to talk, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm a cool down, because I know you like to talk. So I'm gonna let you do the talking, and then when it's time, I'll add mine in. Or if I'm the one that like to talk, sometimes I have to be able to say, you know what, I'm usually talking. Let me let somebody else do it. When you
Right.
start learning how, for one, notice the things and acknowledge the things that you do, and know what the opposite of it is. Then you can eventually meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But you have to know and learn the people around you. So like when I was back home, I knew all my people, and what one was more soft tone, one was more like rah rah. One person was like, whatever, this is and
Yeah.
that. So you gotta know how people
Yeah.
operate so you know how everybody can do their part in filling.
I will say this, there have been a lot of stepping organizations, and if you knew the leader of the organization, their students were very similar to them
Mhm.
in attitude and vibe. So I guess you kind of draw the right people. It automatically happens. You go out to the right people that you're
For
supposed
the
to be.
most part, for the
Mhm.
most part. But what I look for is differences. I don't want somebody that's just like me because I'm enough of me.
Uh-huh. I see. Mhm.
I'm enough.
Yes.
Really, I am.
You are.
So to have someone that's just like me or that's very close to me, it's like, okay, there has to be something where we can be a yin and yang versus a lot of yang and yang and yang and yang,
I got
right?
you. Mhm.
So, I try to surround myself with people that are like-minded but individualized.
There we go. I like that better. Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Like-minded, but they're an individual and they have their different things and nuances that make them special. Because like I
mhm.
tell people, like we're all teaching the same thing, but you're gonna do it a little bit different because you have a different nuance about you, your particular way that you see things to fit the same message.
Mhm. I see. Do you have with your school, you have several locations, right? Talk to us about your locations. I know you have one in Atlanta and Dallas. What?
Yes, so I have 8 different branches right now. I'm happy to say very very proud of that. We've been expanding like crazy, and we have more that are looking to be added on. But right now, so obviously my base is Detroit. So my mom and I have my group there that's taking care of that. When we gonna get classes back up soon there as well. But I have Detroit, obviously I have Dallas where I stay, I have Atlanta with Shelly. Um, we have Central Florida with Tish, who won Old School
Yeah.
a couple years ago. So Tish. Then I'm actually here in Oakland. I come here to Oakland because I train my group out here. So we have NBC Steppers, which are here in the Bay Area, Vallejo area. We have uh, Sacramento, so Heyman in Sacramento. He's my Sacramento branch. Then we have a branch in Seattle with SOS, which is Katharina and Leona
Okay.
out of Styles of Stepping in Seattle. And we have newly just added. We have the Beat Indie. So we have some activity in in Indianapolis with Karen, Jimmy, and a plethora of other folks that are a part of that organization as well.
So since all these branches are under you, do you have a personal hand in their um, dance journey, or do you have like monthly meetings and y'all
Absolutely.
dance or uh-huh.
We're in constant communication. Constant communication. In order for this to work, like my ultimate goal is I want to have dance schools all over the country. Like that's my ultimate goal. I feel like that's my purpose in life is to teach dance. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. I quit my job
Yeah.
that kept me afloat over the pandemic. I quit that job to fully focus on teaching and building my business. Um, Entrepreneurship, black owned business, we gotta do that, right?
Yeah,
Can't work for man.
absolutely.
Uh,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
With that being said, the goal is to increase the knowledge of all the different communities out there. And the only
Mhm.
way to do that is to make sure that we are, in a sense, on one accord, or at least on an accord where we're at least learning at a certain type of rate, um, and being taught certain things to really put us in the best position possible to learn the dance. Um, they're just things that I know based off of what's been shown, what I have proven to work, um, with the students that I have created that put in contests, or just overall just have really good dancers. There are techniques that I use and teach by that I know work.
Okay.
And so with that, I want to share that with others to allow their communities to also thrive in that same manner. You know, Dallas is in a whole different echelon since I've been there. That's not something I'm just saying. That's something that people in Dallas have felt and have come to me like, oh my God, like we
Yeah.
are dancing so much better.
I
And
love
that
that.
takes nothing against the Genos and the Teds, because they were obviously pioneers, and David Joyce, they were pioneers of that whole Texas step and learning, you know,
Absolutely.
implementing that into the Texas brand. You know, all I did was just come in and help enhance it. Like my point is just to enhance, not to break down, but to get us to the next level. So these different branches have entrusted in me my knowledge and my curriculum to use to help build their communities.
I mean, I think it's fantastic. And I hope that the community keeps their arms open for you, and not, get back into, he's too young, he's whatever, all that kind of stuff. I want that to be gone. Not that because you won the masters, it's because you know this dance. And if that's what it takes to get this dance to thrive and keep going, then give Drew the passage. Don't bother him. Now, listen, this is the thing, before we go, there's always been this pull against old school, new school. You're a hybrid of both. What are some of the things that you've actually done to kind of bridge that gap? I know you dance with a lot of old schoolers. I've got you on video, a couple of them. But what do you do? How do you bridge that?
Well, the biggest thing is you pay respect to where the dance came from. If you pay respect to where the dance come from, then where the dance come from pays respect to where it's going.
Mm. Are you writing
And
these
so,
down? You writing
no,
these
this is straight off the dome, straight off the lot, straight off the
straight off the locks.
lot. But that's the biggest thing, and I say that I have I've been blessed enough to be able to have the mindset that I can't do it by myself. I'm not I can be good. I can be great even. But there's always somebody that's going to be even greater than me. And because of that mindset that's instilled in me, it keeps me humble. And when you're humble, and when people notice your humbleness, they also notice the hunger that comes within that. I met Mr. Stanley Brown at 160 over with Miss Leanna,
Yes.
and it's funny because he actually helped me put on my bow tie. I was having a hard time putting on my bow tie for the contest. I really
Oh my
was.
goodness.
But you know, me and him actually got a chance to talk for a brief second, and I had to tell him I never met him prior to the prelims, and that was the first time I met him. And then the second time I saw him was at the contest.
Oh, wow.
And I just basically told him, I said, you know, I appreciate everything that you've done. Like I've come to him like this, like, look, I appreciate everything that you've done because you helped pave the way for dancers like myself to come along. I said, I admire your dance. I love the way you move. It's something about that old school flavor. And for me, if you pay homage to the old school will love on you.
Yeah.
It's just like, period. You always respect your elders, and your
Yes.
elders will love on you like
Yes.
relentlessly. And
Yes.
so by the end of the night, he was like, man, give me your number. I need to talk to you because
Oh,
I love that you show me respect.
yes.
And that these are words. He was like, I love that you show me respect and where I came from, because not a lot of people do that, and I appreciate that coming from a young blood. So you know, when that came, it was just like that. Just goes to show that
Right.
when you pay that respect to where the dance or where anything in life where it comes from, then it'll also show you the respect as you move forward and excel at it. So what bridged the gap, at least for me, is that I learned it, and I learned it the right way. um, I learned it and I do it the right way.
Mhm.
You know, I if I wanted to dance old school, I could dance old school
Yes,
all
sir.
night, and I don't have to have a hint of a new thing in me at all. That in itself, some people can't make that adjustment and keep it. Some people are so like need to do some turns. I don't have to do no turns. I can dance old school all day because I truly embody what the dance is supposed to be like. Then
Yes.
I can help bridge that gap even more. Me being young and me doing the dance. See, what I look at when people say old and new school, and that's fine, but I believe in true school. True school is when you understand everything as a whole. Old school is old school. New school is new school. Whole school, the whole thing. I want the whole. I want the true school. The true school is understanding how to bridge, how to have it all, which is why I can admire people like Auntie and Uncle Danby, because even though they're part of the old school, different generation, they're willing to learn all the new things that the dance is starting to evolve to.
Yes.
And people like Sean Bandy, who, from a new school perspective, went back and started learning all the old stuff. Which is why he gets so much love when you talk about the Darlindas and the Sheilas and the Josiahs, like everybody. The same thing with me is that I take the dance from every angle and not focus on just one particular side, but take it all. So that's what really helps me bridge the gap.
You are a person that knows several dances. I know we have short time, so let me know, because I can talk to you all night. This may be
go ahead. I'm waiting on my person to get here.
All right, very good. All right, so with you being a person that knows several different dance styles, I've heard it often said when it comes to the history of stepping, to some of the folks that's maybe less than 10 years, they like, why we got to hear about the history? Why? I just want to learn how to do these little 7, these little 8 steps and drag this 500. That's all I want to know about. I don't want to know about where it came from and the pioneers. This is just a recreational dance for me. It is not that serious, right? So the reason why I say that about stepping, because you have other dance styles that you do, it's the history of whatever that dance style drilled at you, like at times stepping does.
Stepping, what's funny is in being in Detroit, we obviously do so many different dances, and there's a history there, obviously. But history in Chicago is very more is much more what's the word I'm looking for? It's
more.
Yeah, when they say stepping is a lifestyle,
like
they mean that.
Yeah.
And dancing for them brought them through so many struggles in life. Whereas in other cultures, it could possibly do the same thing, but it's not the same. And so it's so much more harped upon in stepping because of where it came from. What I believe in is you have to understand where you come from in order to know where you're going. And so that concept for me, when it comes to stepping, is very strong. When it comes to salsa, not as much. Why? Just because it's when you look at so many, it's okay. So when we talk about stepping is obviously predominantly a Black dance.
Yes.
Salsa, not so much.
Right.
You have all over the world that do salsa, and they do them different ways and all different type of stuff like that. So when you start to incorporate a lot more ethnicities, diversities, then the conversation is not the same. Now in Detroit, we have ballroom, we have Greystone. We talk about the Greystone building and how that was very prominent in our times of learning the dance. Detroit ballroom, the cha-cha, and kind of where that kind of all come from. That's something that we, most people know. Well, excuse me, some people know, not most do. Some people just learn to dance and they learn it. I think that depending on the dance and the culture, they harp on it a lot more than most. And stepping, it's just so happened the history is very, very important.
It's very important and very it's easy. It's easy if you don't understand the culture. It's easy to disrespect it unknowingly.
And because, steppers, especially out of Chicago, take so much pride in the dance.
Yes, you can say
Those,
something. Mhm.
those people are the ones who normally take more offense to anything if you're
Mm,
from Chicago. Now, people that are outside of Chicago, they might understand the culture, but might not be so much offended by it
right.
because it's not their lifestyle.
Yeah,
But
exactly. It's just
you
something I
talk
do. It
about
ain't serious.
it ain't their lifestyle. However, respect is still key. And you can respect something and disagree with it. You can respect something and agree with it.
Mhm.
The key is respect either way. So as long as you respect the history and understand that there is a history,
Mm,
and what allows you to ameliorate in the dance, to become better in the dance, is you understanding more about it.
mm, mm. If and then to realize there's something is more about it. You know what I mean? Like
Something is more about it.
it is some more about it. It ain't just 8 steps. And I try to make sure that we kind of understand kind of why it's there. It got so commercialized that a lot of us that learned it didn't. I had never been to Chicago until I started dancing. Seriously, I never been to Chicago. For what? I don't have family up that way. Well, I got a cousin up that way, but it's a long story. You know what I'm saying? So it's no reason to go to Chicago until I started doing this dance. So
Absolutely. I
had
think
I
it's open.
oh, I'm sorry, you gotta
Go
go.
ahead. Go ahead.
But had I known anyway, listen, when is the next class? Because we got to know. We'll get your schedule and get the next class together. So talk to me.
We had to, we partying this weekend. It's phenomenal celebration weekend. So we're doing a workshop this weekend. We'll have some guest instructors in town that'll be here. The Keisha Andersons, the Pat Clays will be in town. We, having a good time. Tish will be here. World's Largest Champion, she'll be here. So we just have a lot of people coming to help me celebrate and bring in 31. I'm happy and very, very, very appreciative of all those people coming in to help me celebrate. But I'm always opposed wherever I'm going, what's going on, because I want people to be a part. You see my little friend right here.
Oh,
That's Shorty right there.
hi.
But yeah, wherever is going on, I'm always there. If it's not my workshop and I'm there, I'm still there to help, whatever. Like, I helped with Tick and Shanice's workshop this past weekend at the Texas Heat, and
Nice.
Tick was like, "Look, handle that business." He's like, "Look, once I get to going, I get to going, and sharing information is what I love to do. So
Where's
whatever
your
I
next
can do, I
stop?
will."
Where's your
Say it
next stop
again.
after your birthday celebration? Where are you going next?
So I'll actually be next week. I will be in New York. Not like teaching any workshop or anything. However, I am open up for private. So if you're in the New York area, next week I'll be there for a whole week. So reach out to me after the 23rd. I will be there.
Nice.
And then following after that, I'll be at Harlem Nights in
Okay.
California, Long Beach, California. So I'll be there. I'll be back here in Oakland the weekend after that, and then the weekend after that, I'll be in Turkey Trot with Tony Hearn in Vegas.
Jeez.
So yes, November is already quite crazy already,
My
and then
gosh.
yeah, December. I'm scared of December. I'm trying to low key take a vacation. That's what I'm trying to do.
You need to. You need to take some time. I'm sure you need it. You go ahead and do your private. We love you. We will schedule the next class so people can be ready with their
Yes,
questions and things like that. I did not take any,
yes, we need to
but we
have
will.
our as we continue these segments. I look forward to doing these.
Yeah.
As me and Tika talked about a little while, we looking forward to like getting some things. So hopefully you guys like hearing from me. If so, make sure you put some hearts and thumbs up in there. If you love hearing from me, I look forward to us getting together again and talking some more.
I love it. Sip, sip. Congratulations
Sip.
again. Happy birthday again. You guys have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.